Ooh, Battlefield 6 class system controversy. Who'd have guessed, eh? So what's all the fuss about? They've just announced their vision for the Battlefield 6 class system, and there's a particular part of it that most of us gamers are a bit WTF about. I'm going to break it down for you guys, so let's get into it now. We will also look at the key arguments for and against this, but we'll get into those later. Let's start with what is all the fuss about. So as I said, the DICE devs recently made a post outlining their vision for the class system in this new Battlefield 6. And while it mostly seems to stick very closely to the traditional class system we've seen in most of the other Battlefields, in one particular aspect it does go off towards what we had in 2042, which for a lot of players wasn't very popular, and that is the weapons being freely swappable. In the past, you always had a fixed weapon class for each class. So Assault had assault rifles, for example. The Support class had exclusive access to the light machine guns, Scout to sniper rifles, etc. They've decided to go with the Battlefield 2042 version and make those where you just, you can use them a little bit better if you're in that, but you can do whatever you want. Now this has created a lot of upset among the Battlefield veterans. However, some players are seeing this as a good thing, and we'll get into their arguments later on. But that is, in essence, the crux of people's discontent, is they seem to be just doing what they want again and ignoring what the players wanted, despite saying the otherwise. Now, we're going to look into the truth of that. So first of all, let's make the argument for the side that I'm on, which is these weapons should be locked to certain classes. First of all, it's the traditional way, it's always been up till 2042. It helps give the classes their identity. Yes, we get that they've got traits and those kind of things and specialist kit, but the gun does make the class in a sense. A scout is not a scout if he's got a submachine gun, is he really? I get those special circumstances, and that brings me to another point. Take Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3 for example. You've always had access to other weapon types. You're not that restricted. You can be a scout and have a carbine. You can be a scout and have a DMR or a shotgun. So you can be that, kind of infiltrator operator if you want. You can be the support guy with a close range weapon if you just want to provide ammo to your buddies. You can be an assault guy and have a DMR if that's what you want to do. There's plenty of room for customization. But if you start letting scouts have machine guns, if you start letting engineers have sniper rifles, you're going to get some really overpowered combinations, and that's why I think they need to stick to the traditional system. It also, and this is another really great argument I've heard here, is if they actually listen to the fans and turn this thing around, that will be a big signal to the players that yes, we are listening and we are taking your feedback on board. Choosing to ignore it is just going to amplify those voices that are saying otherwise. So now we've heard the against side, let's hear the for side, starting with what the developers feel is best, as in how they've made their decision. So they think that this is going to help players to better support their squads by giving more flexibility in their role. That's one part they've said. I've also heard a lot of people mentioning the fact that we've got the gunsmithing system where you can customize your weapons. So this is very similar to in Call of Duty Warzone, where you can pretty much take a machine gun, take the stock off it, shorten the barrel, turn it into a submachine gun, basically, that type of thing. So they're saying that these traditional weapon types aren't really going to matter anymore because of the gunsmithing. Whether or not that's true, we'll have to wait and see once they reveal the gunsmithing part for sure. We'll have to wait for that. But that's another big argument. And some players really just like having the flexibility of being able to pick whatever weapon you want, making your own class, essentially. Some players like that, but I think the majority of players, from what I'm seeing and hearing, do not agree with that. So, to summarise, it's basically an issue of tradition versus change. Do you prefer the traditional way of things, or do you prefer to have something new? That's what's on the table there. If you don't like these changes, the best thing you can do is get on to social media and speak politely but firmly, voicing your disagreement with this decision. The more people that give feedback, the more likely they are to think maybe they need to reverse this decision. So that's all I got for you guys. That's pretty much explaining the issue there. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is good? Do you think it's bad? What do you think's going to happen with the next game? You know, if they stay the same with this, if they change it, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll catch up with you in the next one.